Hi, I'm Emma. I'm 31 and I'm from Uddingston in Scotland. I was diagnosed with cervical cancer in 2020. I went for my routine smear test. I was a couple of months late just with having a new baby and a busy lifestyle, and I just wasn't able to make myself top of the priority list. I went for my smear test thinking that nothing would come back of it. I didn't even know how important it was to go for my smear test or the reasons why I was going for my smear test, which looking back now is just so silly. We should really educate ourselves on it. A couple of weeks later, I got a letter through saying that I had abnormal cells. I got another letter through to go to Haymyers for a coloscopy. I went in and the doctor told me that day that any treatment that could be done would be offered that day. So we went through to another room and the coloscopy started, and I suddenly felt the mood in the room change, and the nurses were just having a chat with me, trying to keep me at ease. And the next thing, the doctor had asked if she could take some biopsies. And I started to wonder to myself, why would I not be getting the treatment for precancerous cells? I've heard so many girls have so many different things. Why would it skip straight to biopsies? So I got the biopsies and I really struggled with this. And when I stood up, I fainted. I had to get myself together and go back out to my car and get back on with life. I've got 3 young children, so I had nurseries, school runs, activities, clubs, places that I needed to be. I was really upset that day, and I didn't take any time for myself to even process what had just happened. Skip on again, another week or so, and I was asked to go back into the hospital to speak with the doctor. When I went in to the surgery room, I sat down and there was 2 doctors there, and I just knew at that point that it was not going to be good. They told me I had cervical cancer. I remember the room spinning just like it does in a movie, and I couldn't hear anything. And I just cried and I screamed and I asked her to just save my life for my kids. I didn't even think about myself. I was just so worried that I had brought these 3 amazing little humans into the world, and I wanted to give them the best life, and I was going to die, and that was going to be their childhood. So the doctor took me through and she done some bloods, and the nurses were really nice, and they said that the consultant was absolutely amazing. And I just hung on to those words that she was going to save my life. And from then, I just waited. I lived off the appointments coming through to go to the hospital to get treatment, to find out what was going on. So the first thing that we done was the MRI scan. I got my MRI scan, and I'm really claustrophobic, so that was just so tough for me. It took me about 3 attempts and I just couldn't even get the machine over my head. I just kept getting up and trying to get out the restraints because you're kind of pinned down. They asked to put music on, and I couldn't even hear anything. I was just so gone with the fact that I had this news that I had cervical cancer. I had an amazing soundographer that came out, and she sat me up and she was like, you need to do this for your kids. Just lie down, get yourself scanned. We'll find out where your cancer, what stage it's at, what treatment that you need. You just need to do it to be here for your kids. And I just so needed someone to say that to me. I finally got my MRI scan done, and I went back in to see my doctor, and my doctor had said that she wanted to do the LEAP procedure. So it was 2020, so we were kind of in between lockdown. A lot of my appointments got cancelled. I was in isolation for 72 hours at a time because I wasn't allowed to see anybody, which was obviously really hard with having 3 kids. And then my surgery would always get cancelled. My doctor was amazing and she took me into the Golden Jubilee and we finally got the surgery. But I had a really hard time on the surgery table. I woke up in shock. I just couldn't stop shaking and I'd lost a lot of blood that time. When I got the biopsies back from that one, they still weren't too happy and I just felt as if my journey was never stopping. It was just one thing after another. Eventually it ended with a total hysterectomy, which was quite an easy decision to make because I had 3 children. But I did want to go on and have more children. But I just had to make the right choices for the 3 kids that I've got. I just needed their mummy to be here. I had my total hysterectomy and I went home. After my surgery there were some complications. I couldn't hear anything. It was like fireworks going off in my head. I was so violently sick. So my husband took me straight back up to A&E and I was just taken straight back into the gynecology ward and I had to go back down into surgery and have these complications sorted. I had to have blood removed from my hands and injected back into my spine. Once I had that and I came back round in the ward, everything seemed so much better. My head wasn't sore and I could finally hear again. I was just really worried that was it. It was kind of the end for me. So after that, about 7 days later, I went back in to see the consultant and she finally gave me the all clear. I was so happy that I had the all clear, but I did know that things needed to change. And I was doing so much research into how we can better the smear testing programme, and I just thought to myself there has to be something more out there that Women of Scotland can have to make things better. So doing my research online, I came across self-sampling in other countries and I wondered to myself why we don't have that in Scotland. It turns out in Dumfries and Galloway there's been a successful trial carried out and it was 99.9% successful with the uptake of the smears and every woman was able to perform that easily. If we had self-sampling, it would make it so much easier for women to perform the self-sampling in the comfort of their own home regularly. A lot of women do not go for their smear test, and I beg you now, after listening to all these women's stories, please go for your smear. It will save your life. So I've started a campaign. I started this on my own and I was just a wee girl from Uddingston thinking no one would listen to me, no one would take me serious and this would go nowhere. But I thought to myself, if I share this on my social media and it helps one person, then it's done its job. It just continued to grow and grow and grow, and I shared with people the trials that were carried out in Dumfries and Galloway with the self-sampling, and I started a petition. The petition was signed by a lot of people and MSPs have got involved and helped me. I'm now taking this to Parliament on the 6th of December to push the government to do something for the women in Scotland. We need a better smear testing programme. Cervical cancer is preventable if we have the right measures in place. If you've listened to these wonderful women's stories today, you'll see that the treatment that they have would have racked up some cost as well. If the government have a financial issue with doing this, if you look at the treatments that everybody has had in comparison to bringing in the self-sampling and treating this at a pre-cancerous stage, then financially, surely it would make sense. Together, we can make a change.